Apologies for that, everybody. That's why you shouldn't try and clean your stream deck while you're already live on YouTube. Apologies for that. We'll be with you in a minute.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and it's ready to show off.
Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another 2 rounds of Season 5 in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. We're back at a circuit that provided us with a very exciting night of racing back in the Winter Tour, which crossed over from 2023 into this year in 2024, here at Circuit de Ledenon in France. It's an absolute wondrous circuit, this place. Very, very tricky in these cars. Very tricky in anything, to be fair. There's not really any straight line braking zones, barely even a straight line on the place. place at all. Drivers always swapping from one end of the track to the other, and they're all going to have their wits about them tonight, as we have 2 sprint races coming your way. 20 minutes followed by 30 minutes, and of course with the reverse grid element to think about as well. You've got myself, Chaz Draycott, and Ed May in the commentary box once again. And Ed, we had a great time here last time, didn't we? I think now it's the full GT4 challenge season. There's going to be a lot riding on this.
Yeah, we've built it up a lot, so hopefully the drivers don't feel too led on if it doesn't come to fruition here at Ledenon. It's a wonderful circuit, like you mentioned, from the Winter Tour, and it's going to be so exciting to have, with a slightly bigger grid, I believe, than what we had whilst out in the Winter Tour. All of the action out on circuit. The 2 sprint races on the cards for tonight as well does mean that there's going to be an extra spice added to the mix, with a potential reverse grid shaking around that second race of the evening. Twice, obviously, the opportunities for drivers to take race victories. Like you said, Chaz, we've had so many different varied race victors. We're almost certainly going to have a new one coming through, but who will it be? That's going to be the question.
Yep, no clue whatsoever going into every race meeting so far this season, and that's been the real talking point. It's been such a great campaign so far. We're really looking forward to seeing how it goes on. At the moment, it's Taylor Adams on 100 points after 5 rounds. He's 10 points clear of Jake Cranstone, with Nils Kaur reigning champion in 3rd place, Callum Brandt going well in 4th, and Ayrton Williams in 5th place. Simon Povey next up, ahead of Matt Slight, Tom Stanley, Lewis Ward and Daniel Mills. It's all remarkably close all the way down the order. Since we brought in that newer point system a few seasons ago, it's been a real treat in terms of points. But even over in the teams championship as well, Ed, only 6 points between the top 2, Satellite Racing Blue and Regenta Sim Racing, really going at it at the moment. But even then, there's nothing to separate teams behind. 5 points between 3 of them.
Yeah, it's so tight, and still in an early stage of the season. You're not even halfway through the season yet, but it's so interesting just to see how finely poised it is out there. Look at all those drivers, and this circuit as well is such a tricky one to really get to grips with, just because of the constant direction and sort of, as you can see, elevation changes. Just currently now following Nils Kaur, Satellite Racing Blue, in his Aston Martin. Nils coming off of the back of some very strong points, wasn't it, that we saw him score last time out. Didn't end up taking the race victory, but still enough to keep himself in with that fight for the championship, trying to obviously make it back-to-back titles here with the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. This is the season where we have basically all of the champions here with us, don't we? Because we've got Lewis Ward as part of the season. I'm not sure if he's out here tonight. Yes, he is. He's currently sitting in 10th, and then Simon Povey as well, season 1 champion. That's about in 5th, so we are really spoilt for talent, but look at how close it is. Nils Kaur, Taylor Adams, 2 real championship protagonists, just 5 thousandths apart.
Yeah, indeed. The top 4 covered by less than 1/10 of a second, top 12 less than half a second, and what's that? 19 cars separated by less than a second. Technically, Jamie Pounder only a few thousandths over that as well. We never know where anybody's going to end up in this entire order, and that's one of the best bits about it. You can see here Taylor Adams using a lot of the concrete on the left hand side. Track limits here kind of inconsistent, actually. There's a lot of places where you can really go all 4 wheels outside of the circuit or outside of the white lines, and then other parts of the track where you can barely do that Kyle Ridley's done there, or even that. You can't put 2 wheels outside of the white line without it telling you off, so it seems like there's a bit of inconsistency there. There's this fantastic / awful livery on the top of the Pops car this week, the Earth Song livery, as we come here to France, to Ledenon. These guys do a great job with their liveries and have a lot of fun with it. Same too with Simon Price. He's got the French flag, or the French tricolour at least, on the car with this Walker's livery this time round, and it's the French fries livery. Of course it is for this week. We love this though. The guys in the championship always have such fun with their liveries and their designs. We've also got Ben Chalcraft out there. Where's he at the moment? I think he's in the pit lane, but you can see him there with the Saltaire Brewery livery on the car. He's actually wearing the Harlequin colours this week, so the car is more of a rainbow. He's had a bit of contact in the last few weeks, hasn't he, Ed? So he's hoping to avoid that by making the car as easy to see as possible.
Yeah, of course, that might make it a little bit more easy for him to stand out against those rivals that wouldn't mind having a little bit of argy-bargy with him. We'll see, of course, how it goes on. Another driver that we've been seeing perform absolutely brilliantly over the course of the season is Drake Cranston. I think he got a podium, didn't he, last time out at the Nürburgring. memory serves correct.
Yes, 3 in a row.
Was it 3 in a row for him as well? So he is a driver that's really on form. Doesn't necessarily quite have the pace over a single lap. That tends to go the way, mainly for the McLaren drivers. Over one lap, the pace is there, but then race management isn't quite with him. But Jake has been so good at managing the races. He's been very punchy with a lot of the moves he made. I think he did say he was a little bit sendy out there after the race meeting that we've just had at the Nürburgring. I think we interviewed him, didn't we? And he said that he was really getting stuck in there, which we love to see, of course, and does seem to make it work. He's got a right car for it as well, being nice and sendy in a very small little Porsche, so you can find those little gaps that maybe some of the bigger cars, the Mercedes, the BMWs, can't quite fit into.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen some great racing though. Matthias 10 was right in the thick of the action last time out as well. The likes of Ben Idris Abdullah, he was in there too. He was a real star. But that again shows you just how different each round can be in this championship. He was inside the top 10 for the whole race. A real star in that one. He's 20th at the moment in practice and not able to get the pace out of the car. It's just remarkable how different it is round on round. Daniel Mills had a bit of a tough time at the Nürburgring as well in his Porsche. He's going to be hoping for a bit more luck here. And the McLaren's not necessarily suiting this circuit right now. Callum Brandt, the highest placed of them. There is a big change coming in the championship though. There will be a reduction in the fuel limit. After the previous round there was a big long discussion in Discord about the fuel limits and what they get set to and whether we get 1-stop races or 2-stop races, because the championship has always had 2 stops, with 1 stop being a possibility, as a bit of a unicorn circuit like the Hungaroring, but since then it's become the norm now after iRacing's most recent update to the cars that we get 1-stops everywhere. So there's been a huge discussion in Discord about it and a vote, and after the halfway point of the championship, when we come back to Zolder for the next endurance round, I don't know what happened there, there will be a reduction to the fuel limit in the cars, so 2-stop endurance races should become more common. It was pretty tight stuff though, wasn't it, Ed? It was almost a half and half split between the grid, but democracy prevailed in the end.
Yeah, it was a sign of democracy, wasn't it? Manifesting itself just in the Discord, being all of the discussions that we saw over the course. Obviously, dramas abounded, but everyone sort of has abided by the rules. They understand that this is what the majority, at least, wanted. So we'll see, of course, how that goes. And of course, the rules are never set in stone from one season to the next. So we'll have a little tweak of it, see how it goes from the one stage of the season to the next halfway point, and then we can assess potentially changes for season 6 as well. It's good, obviously, that we get all of the drivers' feedback, isn't it, while doing mid-season rule changes. We don't want to say, oh, these are the rules we start the season with, this is what you've got to put up with or shut up. We like to sort of let the drivers sort of help us in terms of being able to organise the championship that suits everyone, makes sure that they're able to get the most enjoyment out of it as possible.
Yeah, definitely. We always want the drivers to have their input. At the end of the day, they're the people that are on the circuit, not us. We get entertained up here in the commentary box either way, but yeah, we always want to make sure that the drivers, the people that are doing the racing, are the ones at the forefront of our minds. And yeah, democracy was the answer in the end. But we have the winter tour coming up at the end of the year as well, which is also something we use to sort of test as a bit of a test platform for new rules and new racing formats. It's a bit of fun at the same time. It's not as serious as the full GT4 challenge, which is the primary focus of the Sim Racing Magazine community. But we'll have special events and we'll have another winter tour at the end of the year, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm delighted to tell people as well, it's not going to be in GT4 cars, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We're certainly going to have a lot of fun with it. But someone that's been having fun so far this season though, Ed, Taylor Adams, what a campaign he's having. The only driver to win more than one race this season, because we've had so many different podium finishes, but he really is one of the drivers to beat, isn't he? He's doing great.
Yeah, finds himself leading the championship to the tune of 10 points over Jake Cranstone. He's 16 points ahead of last season's champion, and I think one of the biggest threats to his title, or to his championship charge, Niels Kaur. He's going to have to really have his A game though, because I wouldn't expect the BMW to be a strong car around this circuit, Chaz. It's one that doesn't really play to its strengths in terms of really utilising that top end speed, but it does look rather stable through the sort of high-speed sweepers, which is something I guess that is sort of lent to with that longer wheelbase compared to something like the Porsche, which can have a little bit of instability just due to its sort of more shorter size.
Yeah, definitely. It's a car that's, like you say, it's got its strengths, but it's also got its weaknesses because of how bulky it is. But it does tend to soak up those curbs, but it's always the way that it's been with a lot of BMW GT cars. They've always been great at sort of absorbing impacts and so on. We'll see how Taylor does as he comes across the line now for the very first time. Rob Sharp is apparently off the circuit and back on again. Taylor sets the first time in the session, as he so often does, and it's a 1:25.268.
Same with the Aston, actually, on the point you mentioned earlier about the cars being able to hit the bumps. I remember from my time driving that car is that you could really just monster through the curbs without too much of a fuss. And whereas some of the other cars, namely I think it was the McLaren, it just can't get on with the bumps. It's set up very stiff. Mercedes is another car actually that can abide by a lot of curb running and riding. So we'll see obviously how Matthias is able to navigate that. At the moment though, from the first few laps of qualifying, Jake Cranston is pick of the bunch, nearly 3 tenths quicker than his main rival Taylor Adams. So of course we do expect the circuit to warm up a little bit as Simon Povey now goes onto the front row. He's about 1.5 tenths shy of Jake Cranston's effort. Of course though, Chaz, let's not forget that because we are running a heat racing format, the drivers aren't able to complete the laps that they are on. That is something that they will need to be aware of, because obviously the way iRacing does qualifying sessions varies depending on the type of session you're in. With heat racing, basically as soon as the clock ticks over, that's it, you can't complete any laps, mainly just because of basically I think it's the server time limit that they have for each sessions, with it being 2 30-minute races. A bit of downtime in the middle does sort of allow some leeway, whereas here it compresses the sessions down, means that as soon as that flag falls, that's it, you're not allowed to do any more, do not pass go, get out there and get ready for the race.
Yeah, absolutely. They get kicked off the circuit. I think it's like a 3-second timeout basically, but as soon as that session is over, it doesn't count any lap times at all. Jake Cranston has just gone back to the top of the times. The Porsche going well here. We've got a bunch of BMWs inside the top 10 as well. Ben Chalcraft up there. We can now finally show off his Harlequin livery. Multicoloured, looks like it's made of slanted Lego. But we've got to obviously give our championship sponsors a shout out as well. Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters. Orris Digital and Heinz Mayer receiving a lot of praise actually during the previous week. Some of the guys have received their medals and certificates for previous rounds of the championship, and so many people giving them great praise and mentioning that, you know, it's what sets this league apart from so many others, is how rewarding it is not just to be a part of, but you know, everybody gets a prize every so often, and you know, there's always something to fight for, something to race for. But you get the physical prizes as well, you know, you get a medal, you get certificates. It's great to give the drivers that recognition, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I remember from my time racing, the trophies, the little medals and trophies we got for the first season were wonderful, and they seem to just be getting better and better from all the pictures that we see in the Discord of the drivers sharing the certificates, little sort of handcrafted little packages they send out to the drivers for their results. Does make it feel sort of all the more special when you do get a race victory, rather than it just being something that you do in the sim and forget about. You've got sort of a little permanent keepsake, which is nice for
a genuine
sentimental sods like me.
Well, that's the thing though, you know, we've got a great community behind this championship and they all really get on board with it, so it's lovely to see that all come together. This is Lewis Ward. Good to see him back on the grid again. He's got his teammate Dan McCauley just behind him there. Look how steep those hills are. The two Mercedes at the moment currently 16th and 17th on the grid as things stand. They've got Ayrton Williams behind them as well. Any improvement there? Lewis Ward goes 9th fastest. No improvement for Dan McCauley. 7/10 of a second off pole at the moment, but my god, look how close it is again. As even, I was just about to mention Guy Edwards, he's just moved up into 12th place now. The top 20 cars separated by less than a second here for this round so far. It's Cranstone, Povey, Rob Sharp 3rd fastest. Rob's really going well around here tonight. Matt Slight 4th fastest. Ayrton Williams, Nils Core, Taylor Adams, Callum Brandt, Lewis Ward, Kyle Ridley. All of them could be race winners at any point of the season. A different highlight of green on Rob Sharp's car for this week. He's got a bit more of a neon green on the car instead of the sort of more British racing green that he had last time. But Rob going great guns at the minute, barely 1/10 of a second off.
Yeah, it is very, very impressive around here. The Porsche utilising its... I would have thought the short wheelbase would have caused some instability, but it seems to be very good on the brakes on the downhill, which I think is the main aspect, because when you're going downhill, obviously the weight of the car is also acting against you. The Porsche doesn't have a whole lot of that to work against you, so you can just see the likes of Cranston and Rob really making the most of it. Obviously, it helps going uphill as well, not having too much weight to shift. Means that all those horses with a good power to weight ratio is really helping him out. Not so much helping out, though, this man that we're following at the moment in time. I believe that is Ben Idris Abdullahi, just having a little bit of an off-circuit excursion. Back on track, though. Toby Johns. I think this was a round that we saw last time in the Winter Tour, actually. Toby gets some very strong points for us. It is first points of the season, I think, at this circuit.
Yeah, actually, one of the thumbnails later on in the season is Toby battling with Simon Povey around this circuit, which I fondly remember from last season. Toby was holding off Simon for a number of laps and having a good old scrap with him. And this was one of his sort of coming-of-age races for him last season. We've got other McLarens as well on the circuit, which is the Jelly Babies machine. Martin Kenyon in car number 24. Chris Jennings back with us as well. We didn't have Chris last time out in the Mercedes, this gorgeous silver arrow, quite literally. Very good looking car. Chris running just as a privateer this season. Reminds me of the old Preki Spark cars that used to run the number 22 in the British GT Championship. For a while they had a McLaren, I think they had a Mercedes in the end, and also used to run an Ascari AZ. No, it wasn't the A10, that was the road car. It was the KZ1R GT3. Now there's a car. There is a real car. I mean, it was an absolute shed, but it was, looked and sounded great.
I think I'm trying to remember what it reminds me of now. It reminds me, I think, one of the McGanns that was running the British touring cars many moons ago, I think. Can't remember the name of it now. It was a weird privateer that had I think, was it like black gradient into like a silver at the rear or something? Very sort of like plain car.
In what championship?
Was it McGann? BTCC.
Oh, it was the Arena International Silver and Black Renault Laguna of Russell Spence and Will Hoy raced that car. There was a very famous incident Russell Spence had at Alton Park, actually, where Alan Menu had gone off in his Mondeo at the last corner and was sat in the gravel, and Russell Spence had a brake failure coming into the final corner, and the car went over the curb, which put it in the air. It went over the gravel trap, hit the fence, and went over the barrier into the crowd. It was quite a remarkable incident. Luckily, no one was hurt. Spence was a little bit bruised and battered, but yeah, it's that was. I always think that. I mean, I love a gradient. I'm an absolute sucker for a gradient, and I think that's one of the best looking cars BTCC's ever had, but one of the simplest looking cars as well.
This is one that I think is also relatively simple in terms of just the geometry of it. It's a very simple sort of fade from very bright blue to a sort of a darker, almost a sort of a, let's say, British racing green sort of almost blue tint to it, and it's really working wonderful. There's, of course, the car's been driven by the Press Standard Nomad team. Jamie Pounder, we're just following at the moment. Seeing where his teammate is, and I think it's just actually Jamie here tonight. I don't think we have.
I don't see Tom Stanley out there tonight, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately.
Tom had a podium earlier in the season as well, back at Watkins Glen, I believe, in the wet. Yes, second place, actually. He was
one of the drivers that gambled on making it on, was it wet tyres, I think, that was able to come through. I think he started on wets, where a lot of the field, sort of, it was a 50-50 split.
Yes.
It was a sort of a dry start that gradually moved into a wet. You can't really run the risk of starting on one set of tyres and changing midway through, just because in these cars you lose so much time over the course of a shorter 30-minute sprint, which was the case last time out when we had those changeable conditions at Watkins Glen. We want to see, of course, how the drivers would negotiate maybe changeable conditions in a 1 hour long race, which you might get a treat of at Spa later on in the season. In fact, actually, the next round, isn't it, at Spa, where I think we might have some wet weather racing.
In literally a week, we go to Spa. We keep the fuel limit the same, though. The change, like we said earlier, doesn't come in until later on in the season, in the second half. So, yeah, we have a pretty incredible chance of rain at Spa, as you can imagine. Francois Brandet in the chat. Good to see you, mate, by the way. Francois is an absolute star. I've raced with him a few times in the Evolution Sim Racing TCR Championship and commentated on him a lot as well in the GT3 Championship, which will return to your screens on Thursday. The news recently coming out about that, unfortunately, due to other commitments, we won't be broadcasting that from Season 6, but hoping to return. The guys have got a good deal sorted with Apex Racing TV, who are some of the absolute OGs of sim racing broadcasts, and we wish them all the best with that. We'll still try and keep up with it and see what's what. And Jakub Szymanski rightly pointing out, Ed, that 23rd placer we were looking at a moment ago, Lee Berridge in the McLaren, is exactly a second off pole position. 23 cars separated by a second. Remarkable.
Stunning stuff. Very, very impressive.
Hello, Ben.
A bit of a spin there from Ben Idris Abdullahi. Such a difficult area of the circuit, though, because you do get that weight transfer on the downhill. Simon Povey, purple first sector, but not improving in the final two. Just enough, though, by 3,000ths of a second to beat Jake Cranstoun. Now, what is Jake going to have in response? He's out on circuit at the moment in time. Will he be able to get through from one and maybe one more lap? You can see drivers that finish the laps now should be able to come through for a second try, but it might just be this last pair. Nils Court breaking the beam. I think he'll be able to get around again. He'll be the last of them. So now, essentially, drivers that come across the line now, that is the best that they can manage. And we follow Ayrton Williams now over the line. 6th. Does he improve any higher? No, seems to stay there. Same with Lewis Ward. He's 11th. Dan McCauley jumping up 1 place to 18th. Very difficult qualifying session for the Apex Racing Academy drivers. Following now, Matt Slight. He's the driver that's going to look to try and move up maybe to the second or front row of the grid, but no improvements across any of his sectors.
No.
Going over the hill and now breaking the beam. Will there be a late improvement in the session? I don't think so. So he'll be expecting 5th at the very least, or at the best, rather. Taylor Adams' teammate doesn't seem to go any faster either. Callum Brandt just jumps ahead of Daniel Mills into 8th. Dobin Brennan up to 14th. Now Simon Povey over the line to try and improve even further, and he does. Jake Cranston does not improve, so it looks to be Simon Povey on pole position. And on a circuit like this, that could be very important.
Incredible stuff by Simon there. It's just the pace we expect from him really these days. I was talking to my good friend Dan McCauley just earlier today, and he was saying about how Simon's consistency is terrifying, but it's the fact that he is so fast while being consistent. Got John Barnes, Nils Court and Ian Pfeiffer, but they run to the line with not enough time left in the session, and Simon Povey will take, surprisingly, his first pole position of the season. And here's an interesting fact for you, Ed. We've not had a single driver take more than 1 pole position yet this season. It's always been a different pole sitter, which is really, really cool. Here is our grid then. Simon Povey takes pole position for round 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Jake Cranstoun will start alongside him, just 40,000ths of a second between the two. Rob Sharp with his best qualifying of the season. Fantastic stuff from Rob. He'll start from 3rd place on the grid, ahead of Nils Court, reigning champion. Matt Slight and Ayrton Williams make a very exciting row 3, ahead of Taylor Adams, Regenta Sim Racing and Satellite Racing Blue, filling up this top 10 once again. We have Callum Brandt in 8th place, Daniel Mills just behind him, his stablemate, and then Guy Edwards in 10th place in the other RD Sim Sport car. Lewis Ward in 11th alongside Kyle Ridley, very exciting 6th row there. Ian Pfeiffer and Dominic Brennan start side by side on row 7. Then we have Ben Chalcraft and Ben Idris Abdullahi ahead of Jamie Pounder and Dan McCauley. Matthias Thames starts 19th, he's further down than we expected as well, with Toby Johns completing the 20. Stephen Codman and Dennis Van Beelen, look at that, 22nd for him, he was well in the top 10 all the time at Nürburgring. Lee Berridge next up and Paul Goffin in 24th. John Barnes 25th ahead of Toby Ward, with Stephen Burns and Chris Jennings alongside him. Heinz Mayer and Martin Kenyon complete the top 30, ahead of Kim Such and Simon Price. John Roberts has unfortunately withdrawn from the meeting. He's been having some pretty bad headaches since he jumped in the sim earlier today, so will not be joining us for this race. So, I'm trying to get rid of that, I do apologise. We're going to have Simon Povey and Jake Cranstoun on the front row, both drivers that we've commentated on and watched for a while now, Ed. We know just how top class these guys both are. I mean, if we look at the entire... anyone in the top 15 could win one of these sprint races tonight, to be fair. They peel away now from where the sort of dummy grid lines up. Not much of the lap to cover here, is there, with it being half a lap?
Yeah, there's not a lot of time for the drivers to get acquainted with the circuit, but they've been able to get plenty of practice in the qualifying as well. Should mean they should be sharp going in towards turn 1. Interestingly enough, Simon Povey trying to get a little bit of heat into the tyres, a little wiggle here and there, just sighting out the circuit for the moment. It's going to be so intriguing to watch Jake Cranstone and Simon Povey in towards turn 1. I think Simon's already got the field rolling. He's caught out Jake.
He has indeed, and round 6 of the championship gets underway just like that. Povey leads them then down towards turn 1, and Rob Sharp is already up into 2nd place. Now, I'm not sure what the implications are going to be because he overtook before the line, and oh no, he's around! Rob spins in front of the field, nobody goes anywhere near him, but that was his key chance to get some big points for Rob Sharp, and unfortunately, he has binned it down at turn 1. That is absolutely gutting stuff. Stephen Burns there having a bit of a battle with John Barnes, but they go down to the hairpin for the first time. Ian Pfeiffer, I was going to say, has gained 3 places. Bounces off the side of Lewis Ward there in the thick of the action. And all of them moving around, trying to go this way and that way, trying to avoid one another. Toby Johns around the outside there, and Matthias Tem side by side with Jamie Pounder in the Aston Martin. Look at everyone now filtering their way back down the hill. We'll go on board so you get an idea of, well, let's go on board, so you can see just what this is like on lap 1 as everybody concertinas together. It's a real accordion effect in the field. Dan McCauley defending the inside there. Matthias Tem right behind him. Matthias trying to gain places early on. Nico Minardi in the chat. Royalty has joined us, everybody. Great to see you, Nico. Hope all is going well. Dan McCauley there down the inside just in front. He's putting a move on Jamie Pounder. Oh, Jamie's gone really deep into the hairpin. But this is just action-packed already, Ed. They're all over the place. Great stuff.
They really are. But Simon Povey's going to be gutted that it was, with that mistake, just as gutted as Rob Sharp, because he was hoping that Rob was going to try and maybe keep himself between Simon and Jake, because we know that Jake is very quick over the course of a race distance. He's got such great race management, even if his 1 lap pace hasn't been there this season. It's obviously changed for the better tonight, being on the front row, and now he's really closing up to Simon.
Interesting that Ayrton Williams has gained 3 places in the first lap, so too has Dan McCauley, so too has Heinz Mayer and Simon Price as well. But to do that within the top 10, Ayrton Williams, what a great job that is from him. But he's been a class act since the start of the season, won the 2nd race of the championship, and he's really been a force to be reckoned with, showing that Satellite Racing Blue, they know how to really nurture some talent, don't they, those boys? Ooh.
Definitely. It's a little bit wide from Simon. Keeps it on the road. But I think he's definitely feeling the pressure now from Jake. You can see right in behind that Porsche looming as well, large as it can. It's a dainty little thing, but he's trying his best to make it look as imposing as possible. It's all Matthias Tem off the road. What's happened there? We saw him in the midst, didn't we, with himself and I think Toby Johns in around him, Ben Idris Abdullahi, Jamie Pounder, who's in that sort of fight. To see what's happened to him there.
Yeah, there was a bit of a drama earlier on as well. There's Kim Such has been off the road, and then Stephen Burns went off with him. Oh no, 2 separate incidents actually. It said that they'd been off about the same time here, but Stephen is going to have a drama of some sort. Is he going to bounce off John Barnes' McLaren? Yes. A little bit hot into the hairpin. Bounces off the corner of him. Let's see what happened here to Matthias Tem. Down the inside of Toby. Oh, just not enough room left on the inside there by Toby, I'm afraid.
Yeah, shame. It's a case of obviously being able to make it stick on the curb on the inside. Matthias, Toby just wasn't really affording the room. It's unfortunate, but those things do happen, of course, when you are in those big, tight battles. Sometimes there isn't a huge amount of space to make the moves, unfortunately. As Taylor Adams, he's got a little bit of space in front and quite a bit actually in behind. Matt Slight in the other Regenta Sim Racing BMW is about 1.5 seconds back. So Taylor doesn't have any threat from behind. If he does, it's from his teammates, so there shouldn't be any battling regardless. And just focus on this sort of train all the way up to the leaders. So Povey and Jake Cranston continuing to go 2 by 2. You can see now that they are trying a little bit to break away, aren't they, from 2 Aston Martins in behind Ayrton Williams and Niels Court.
Jake's just pushing. This is the thing. This is with what's great about the sprint racing is that there's no sort of hesitation or speculation on what the drivers are doing to save fuel or to sort of hang back at all and prolong their race. It's just out and out pace in these sprint races. They have no worries about fuel limits or anything like that. The drivers just go for it from the very start of the race, and Jake is pushing like mad now to try and stay with and put pressure on Simon. Simon, a champion of this series in the past, season 1 champion. Jake British... no, actually, Jake didn't win the British Boring Car Championship, did he? Wasn't it Henry Morse that won it?
Yeah, was it the Formula 1 that Jake won?
No, it
wasn't,
Cam
was
Dance. No. But Jake has been very close on both occasions. Was it Jake that won it? I'm going to have to check the boring cars because it was that close between him and Henry the whole time. I don't remember.
He's impressive in whatever he drives.
Henry won it. Henry won it.
It was Henry that won it, but still, that doesn't take any shine off what Jake's been able to do so far this season behind the wheel of the GT4 Porsche Cayman. Just really trying to find any sort of weakness, poking and prodding against Simon Povey. They are breaking away, aren't they, from those two Aston Martins? We come to the fight with Ben Idris Abdullahi. He's got Ben Trailcraft in behind Battle of the Bens.
Indeed.
On the circuit. Seems to be Abdullahi breaking away just a touch now. And actually, you can see Jamie Pounder. He's trying to set the move in advance by going wide, but just can't get the turn in.
Yeah, it's not the Aston strong point, that, is it?
The slow speed turning just isn't there in that car. It's much better over the bumps, over the curbs. Getting it stopped on the brakes is pretty good, but it just doesn't have the turn in either slow speed or even the acceleration. If you get into the traction control of that thing, you're cooked. You've got no hope.
So drivers down to 20th place get points. So Lee Berridge is on for a singular championship point at the minute, but better than none. Let's not forget that the top 10 on the grid get reversed from one race to the next as well. So Kyle Ridley will currently be the man that will be on pole position for race 2. He's got Ian Pfeiffer trying to chase him down for that. They've also got Guy Edwards in there. Guy actually started 10th on the grid. This battle further back involving Lee Berridge has actually just had a bit of a position shift. Lee now moves up ahead of Dennis Van Beelen in the Aston. That's what I was saying before though. Dennis was well inside the top 10 for the whole race at the Nürburgring, and this time round, different kettle of fish altogether, isn't it, Ed? But that's the sort of unpredictability that we've come to love from this championship in Season 5.
It has been really good, isn't it? Just to see and come into each round not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing who's going to be the driver on form, on pace. And it, like you say, it does make for probably one of the best seasons we have ever had for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. This time in its 5th iteration. Ridley inside the top 10 and the top of the pops BMW. Not needing to be economical thinking about the planet. You can go full chat in these sprint races. Lewis Ward though, he's going to be trying to find his way past now the Porsche of Daniel Mills.
You can see just in front that Taylor Adams he's dropped away. Oh, down the inside. Callum Brandt makes a move on Matt Slight there into the hairpin, gets it done, and he's already cleared him by the exit as well. I was going to say Matt Slight no longer with the Aston Martins in front. Sorry, Taylor Adams no longer with the Aston Martins in front, and the two Aston Martins themselves have dropped away from our race leaders too. But great move that by Callum Brandt down the inside. Big send into the hairpin, but great respect from Matt at the same time. It's giving the room for that. This is one thing that we've always had, isn't it? A very respectful field. They all race each other very cleanly and very well. Look at the Beamer struggling up there.
Look at that. How has half the race already gone, by the way? We've only got around about 12 minutes left. Where on earth has the time gone? As Matt Slight now really feeling the pressure. He's gone wide in towards the hairpin, and he's going to get swallowed up by not just one, but two, and it's just basically falling backwards. There seems to be a lead weight in the rear end of that BMW. It's just not playing ball whatsoever. Dropping now down into 9th place.
I was going to say he's now on the front row for race 2 though, so swings and roundabouts. Well, there's no swings and roundabouts here. Well, I'll tell you what, one's a swing, one's a roundabout, isn't it? The Jake Cranstone Porsche, definitely the swing, and Simon Povey's big old Mercedes is one hell of a roundabout. But Jake can't quite navigate his way around it at the moment. It's a great chase though that does show you. This is like a colliding of worlds for me. I'm loving this because Simon's obviously always been involved in this championship, in any GT racing, anything we've done with Sim Racing Magazine. Jake's always been in my other leagues away from this, the Chaz Draycott Media Formula 1 World Championship and British Boring Cars. To see two of the masters of both of these series going head-to-head in a sprint race like this in very different cars is so cool. That's what I love about sim racing. You get so many of these variables. It's great to see drivers like this go head-to-head in a championship like this.
Yeah, one heck of a crossover episode, but it's not just an episode, it's a whole season that we have. Jake Cranstone and Simon Povey really just trying to give it everything out there tonight, but you can just see that while Jake can close into Simon, he doesn't quite have the ability to really make any moves stick, but piling the pressure onto Simon. It was actually in the Winter Tour, wasn't it, where Simon had a bit of a mistake here, if I remember.
It was,
right. No, it was
Taylor Adams. Taylor Adams had a spin in both races.
Yeah.
He had a nightmare here, so he's going to be glad to be up in the top 5 at the moment. I think it was Simon that had an amazing drive through from further down the order that we had in the Winter Tour. It's one of those circuits where if you have the right sort of attitude towards it and the right attack for it, you can get a hell of a race out of it. But great stuff so far.
These two,
Terrifying.
ridiculous. so much faster than the rest of the field. This is just mind-boggling.
4
Simon
tenths.
Povey and Jake Cranstone into the high 24s, basically 25s dead. Everyone else is doing mid 25s or higher.
Yeah, they were respectively half a second and 0.8 of a second a lap faster than Nils Coronet and Williams on that previous lap, who have now swapped places, by the way. Nils Cor back in front of Ayrton and pulling away from him at this point. Not quite sure when that happened, but I imagine a bit of team orders on the cards there. If Nils had the pace, there's no point sticking together and saving fuel. It's just a case of, if he's faster, send him forward to go chasing down those race leaders if he can.
Yeah, and also try to make up ground potentially on Taylor Adams in the championship. He is currently going to finish ahead of the championship leader at this moment in time, but Jake Cranston as well, with potential podium, would also make up some ground to Taylor. Might shift around though, of course, with the reverse grid to come in the second race. So it isn't the be all and end all for Taylor if he isn't quite able to get up onto the podium in this closing stage of the race thus far.
About an hour ago, by the way, Dominic Brennan said, "What the hell is this track?" So I think this is his first experience on it. He's 13th at the moment, just in front of the man we're riding on board with now, Dan McCauley, as he can see just ahead of that, Guy Edwards trying to attack the Satellite Racing teal Mercedes of Ian Pfeiffer. I really enjoy the colour of this car. It's like an off-white, this machine. It's a very, very interesting colour. As there you can see the battle further up. There's actually been a move there. Look, Taylor Adams is now ahead of Ayrton Williams. So Ayrton Williams not able to maintain the pace that he's had here, and the BMWs seemingly getting a little bit stronger in the later stage.
Yeah, looks to be going quite well for BMWs. I would have thought it would have been the other way around, really, Aston Martins, but we can see that Nils Cor sort of is go against that trend with his pace at this moment in time. Now that he's been released, he's basically on pace there or thereabouts with the lead pair. If those two do start to battle, it's only a 3-second margin from them, 2-0 at this moment in time. Jake, though, I think he's just pushing Simon for everything, just both picking up the pace as much as possible. All it takes is one little wrong step from Simon, and Jake's going to be right on him. He's got 7 minutes to go, and for all the circuits in the world that you want to have someone breathing down your neck on, it'd be this one, because it's such a difficult circuit to get in the flow off, and if you do make one little mistake, you lose a huge chunk of time.
You can see Simon there having to modulate the brakes as well to make sure he gets the car rotated, not get into the ABS and not overdo it. Like I said at the start of the show, there's no straight line braking zones anywhere around this place. It's very, very close everywhere we go. It's ridiculous. It's close to the limit is what I meant to say there. I sort of held my breath for a second. Bespoke Shelters as well, another championship sponsor. I think I missed them earlier on when I went through my list. They're on like another line on the list, so I do apologise, guys. Well, Alex Johns, the superstar that he is, father of Toby Johns, who races in the championship, also the sponsors of our series. See the windscreen wiper on there from Jake. Maybe a little bit of dust or dirt being kicked up from the Mercedes to affect the front of the car. Oh, drama here as Dominic Brennan goes sideways. He's got Dan McCauley right behind him. Not sure if there was a bit of contact there. Stephen Burns has had another issue, I'm afraid. He's been off the circuit. Has he gone down the inside of another car again? Yeah, that's the second time in this race he's had that issue. Just getting into the ABS, like I said.
I wouldn't have thought that the front end would sort of go around like that. It's got a lot of weight to it, so it should sort of keep the stability in the car with a bit of contact like that, but seemingly not the case. Simon Povey once more just checking his wing mirrors every time just to see where Jake Cranston is going into these braking zones, and it's such a testament to his consistency and resilience, Simon, that he's able to keep it going without any sort of signs of cracking under pressure.
It's remarkable, isn't it? The pace of the leaders getting away. Nils Core, similar-ish pace, but still a few tenths of a lap slower at the moment. We move to Lewis Ward, who's right in the thick of this fight as well, with Daniel Mills in the Porsche ahead of him. Got a great mix of cars in the field again. It's, for some reason, that graphic had disappeared earlier. We've got one of each of the 5 cars in the top 6. Callum Brandt really flying the flag for the McLaren very well at the moment in the RD SimSport machine. Callum's always flown the flag well for whatever car he's in, to be fair. I remember him being in one of the only Mercedes in the field a few seasons ago, and he made it look so fast and so fantastic. But it's great to have a Mercedes, a Porsche, an Aston Martin, a BMW, the top 4 cars all different. The only repeat car there being the Aston Martin of Ayrton Williams, and then Callum Brandt, the highest placed of the McLarens. Yet again, showing you just how good the balance of performance is in GT4 racing here on iRacing. But 4.5 minutes left to go. Kyle Ridley in the background was shot there, importantly. 10th place for him at the moment, which will put him on reverse grid pole position for round 7. And if I remember rightly, Ed, he had a really good meeting here last season and at Red Bull Ring as well. The sprint races really favoured Kyle.
Yeah, he did, and it's something that I guess suits the way he wants to approach the races. He doesn't want to do the sort of race management, the tyre management, the fuel management.
But he's good at that too.
He is good at that as well, but it's just a case of him, I think, being even better at these races where it's just all out, and his racecraft as well, when he doesn't have to pull his punches, is really able to come out into the forefront. And I think that's the main strength of Kyle Ridley, is his racecraft and his ability just to find the perfect space, avoid the incidents, which is another thing that drivers need to be able to manage greatly, is just to predict where the cars are going to go if there is an accident up ahead. Kyle does seem to have that really locked down and is going to currently be on the pole position for the reverse grid as it stands.
Yeah, indeed. It's been great to see all these battles though going on through the field. Pfeiffer really lobbing that Mercedes into there. Guy Edwards putting him under all sorts of pressure now in the McLaren. The McLaren, a car known for really chewing through its tyres. But at this point, oh, that's a lot of curb on the inside for Pfeiffer there. It's blind though. Earlier on during qualifying, we saw just how early Nils Core turned into there. He put in an initial input to turn into the corner, then had to straighten up and turn in again, because it seems to just change where it is every single time. It's crazy. Anyway, Simon Povey with just under 3 minutes left on the clock. Still leads from Jake Cranstone. Nils Core is in 3rd position at the moment as, oh, Lewis Ward is off the road. Lewis has had an issue. He was within the top 5 earlier, was he not? He was very much inside the top 10. Actually lost P8 here into the final corner, and that's a hardware issue. That does scream hardware issue, and the car takes a while to get going again. Oh dearie me, that's a big shame for Lewis Ward, previous double champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge.
Yeah, was he having maybe downshift issues into the corners, not able to get the engine brake to get it stopped? Was it potentially issues maybe with the screen sort of freezing momentarily where he just keeps it straight? It could be one of the two. Here we go though. Simon Povey and Jake Cranstone. Jake's just trying to get a little overlap going. Simon fends him off for now, but I think Jake's really trying to turn up the wick this point in the race with only 2 minutes to go. They almost come to blows into the braking zone. You can see the accordion effect really coming through.
They're going to have 2 laps, I think. I think they're going to get 2, yeah. Because it's, 1:38 on the clock now, and it's going to be like, wow. This is great stuff to watch. This is why sprint racing is so exciting. Simon defends the inside line like his life depends on it. Sticks well to it, but Jake's actually got a tiny overlap. Jake's going to go down the inside into turn 1. They're so close to contact, and somehow they don't touch through there. That was massively respectful stuff. Simon gave him minimal room, but Jake was really tidy with it. Sticks to the inside line. Doesn't quite get the run that he would have wanted, but wow, that was close there, Ed.
That was very cheeky from Simon. I think he actually closed the door a little bit on Jake because he had to really mount the curve on the inside in towards turn 1. I might need to have a look at it, but from the angle I saw, there wasn't a huge amount given to Jake, but Simon really wants to hang on to the lead, to really defend this victory that could be on the cards if he's able to hang on for just one more lap after this.
Incredible stuff. More battles going on a bit further down as well. Jamie Pounder is just in front of Ben Idris Abdullahi and Lewis Ward, who is still recovering, but we will go back up to the front of the pack and keep our eye on these two. with one more lap left to go after this. Jake is putting the car everywhere he can to fill those mirrors of that Mercedes. Simon is just running his lines and just saying, look, I'm not going to give you the room unless you're completely alongside here. And Jake is having to throw the kitchen sink, quite funnily enough, at the back of that Spontex car, marigolds and all. And there's one more lap to go. 12 seconds on the clock as they come up over the crest of the hill, Ed. One more time.
Yeah, Jake gives himself a little bit of space in towards that first corner, that last corner, just so then he can really push hard on the way out. But is there an overlap? Oh, Simon Povey, massive lift. Has he got a slowdown? What's happened there?
What on earth? Has he had a slowdown penalty? He must have done. He must have overdone it somewhere, and Jake Cranstow now has the lead of the race. Simon Povey somewhere has had a drama. I don't recall seeing him cut any corners or anything to that point.
Final corner maybe he caught it, I'm not sure.
Potentially. But Jake Cranstow leads the way. Jake's already won a race this season. He's currently on a 3-podium streak as well. He's very much the driver in form. Great time at Watkins Glen for him, taking a 3rd place, then a race win. He was 2nd last time out at the Nürburgring. And now, heading down the hill into this very tricky braking zone for one more time. This is going to be a real turn up for the books. Simon Povey led this race from the very start, defended brilliantly from Jake, but now he's had to give it up for the sake of track limits and a slowdown penalty. It's not the way we want a race decided, especially with how close that battle was. But what can you say? Jake Cranstow, an absolute superstar in pretty much everything we've watched him in, a lovely lad as well. Round the final corner, he's going to continue this epic podium streak in the best way possible. Jake Cranstow wins round 6 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. What a drive from him. What a race with Simon Povey, though. Hats off to both of them. Nils Core is going to complete the podium ahead of Taylor Adams, Ayrton Williams, Callum Brandt, the highest placed McLaren, with Daniel Mills and Matt Slight behind. Kyle Ridley is going to start 2nd on the grid because Ian Pfeiffer, completing the top 10, is going to take pole position. What a race, Ed.
Wonderful stuff. Ian Pfeiffer on home soil will be on pole position, but what a race that was. What a drive as well by Jake Cranstow. There's something about Jake and these sprint races that seem to go hand in hand, working brilliantly. It was actually at Watkins Glen, I believe, in the 2nd sprint race of the evening, which saw Jake Cranstow take his 1st race victory of the season. This time it's his 2nd in the 1st sprint race of the evening here at Ledenon.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff. And important championship points as well for Nils Core. He gets himself a podium finish. He'll be pleased with that because that was not an easy race to try and get some points from, especially with the pace of the 2 out front. But Jake, amazing stuff. He's in the last 3 races, he's not finished any less than 2nd. Very, very well done indeed. All drivers have completed the race. They'll now move over into the warm-up session in between, and we'll give you the complete race 1 result. Jake Cranstow wins by just under 2 seconds from Simon Povey. A real shame to see it decided like that. Nils Core finishing in 3rd place, 3.6 seconds off the top spot, with Taylor Adams doing well to get up to 4th. Ayrton Williams completing the top 5. Callum Brandt 6th ahead of Daniel Mills and Matt Slight, with Kyle Ridley and Ian Pfeiffer completing the top 10. Guy Edwards 11th with Dominic Brennan 12th, Dan McCauley just behind in 13th, Lewis Ward 14th in the end ahead of Jamie Pounder, Ben Idris Abdullahi, Ben Chalcraft and Toby Johns, with Stephen Codman and Dennis Van Beelen completing the points finishes. Paul Goffin was 21st ahead of Toby Ward, with John Barnes next up and Lee Berridge. Matthias Tem eventually coming home in 25th. Rob Sharp, after spinning at turn 1 as well, 26th. Heinz Mayer next up with Chris Jennings and Stephen Burns. Then it was Martin Kenyon completing the 30. Simon Price and Kim Such, complete the field. Less than a minute separating the field, which is good. John Roberts did not take the start. And I'm going to embarrass Simon Povey here, Ed, and say that he did not have a slowdown penalty.
Oh dear.
What do you think happened to Simon Povey?
Did he think it was the end of the race?
He did. He said he saw the white flag on his DDU and he thought the race was over. He's just said, best season ever.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Right, Ed and I are just going to take a quick 2-minute break, everybody, to digest that, and we'll be back with you in a few moments' time. Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for round 6 and 7 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Hope you're all enjoying the show so far. What a fantastic race that was. Unfortunately, with the win decided by Simon Povey mistaking the lighting on his DDU, which I don't know what that stands for, don't ask me. Yeah, unfortunately meaning that he was lifting off at the end of the penultimate lap and giving the win away. But great race though, Ed, and you know, very clean, really good stuff. There was only a few bits of contact and a few spins here and there. The guys have all chatted in Discord and apologised to each other where they have wanted to and so on, and yeah, it's been very friendly, but great start to the night.
Yeah, I'm guessing DDU is it digital display unit, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Drew Fletcher's just confirmed that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's... Oh, well, we were saying that I think the way that we're going to see the race decided was on the count of maybe a mistake from Simon Jake, just trying to force the issue, force a mistake from the man who won Season 1, has been a main feature up at the front of the field for pretty much every single season he's raced in. But it wasn't necessarily going to be that sort of mistake. We weren't expecting something of that level. It was... Yeah, I'm not sure how Simon must have felt in that moment in time, but I can imagine he's not best pleased as we get this next race underway in around about 5 or so minutes time. We are just waiting for the drivers to run around a little bit for their warm-up, get acquainted to the circuit. But this is a long time for Simon to just sit and process everything that's happened, and it's going to be an awful feeling.
Yeah, indeed. It will be, especially now with the reverse grid having to start from 9th on the grid. We've seen Simon win from that sort of position before, but not quite in these circumstances. So we'll see what comes about, and we'll see what this race has in store for us all. But I'm excited for this one. Half an hour this one, no pit stops or anything to think about for anybody. It's just out and out sprint racing here tonight in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Rob Sharp has just put his first lap time on the board, and silly Chaz thought it was a 5-minute warm-up, not a 10-minute warm-up. We go through a number of different series on this channel, so we have different rules for different ones and different sessions, so please do forgive us. But yeah, that was a very, very exciting first race of the night. Looking forward to the second one. Heinz May has just said on lap 12 his steering wheel disconnected for 3 or 4 seconds. And then it just came back, and it was fine. Simon Povey's now campaigning for the fact that his livery is cursed, and he's told me that many times before, and we've still not changed it. I did make him one, but it looked absolutely awful, so maybe it's not that. We'll see.
Maybe if he wants to go for the unwrapped liveries, because they did look very tasty.
Yeah,
and
true.
Could be a plan potentially. Shed the weight, get some cardboard on the car. Maybe
Yeah.
that'll help him out.
Yeah, for those of you
Maybe
that
not so
didn't-
good though for Spa, because it's going to be raining there probably. Maybe give it another week.
Yeah, true. For any of you that didn't see the GT4 Winter Tour, the Spontex CDM Esports cars that wear this livery that Dominic Brennan is currently wearing at the moment, this is the sort of standard livery for the team, which I run. And we had an unwrapped, so Spontex have a range of unwrapped sort of recycled products where it's all sort of just a cardboard finish with just green text on it, and we had that effect on the cars for the GT4 Winter Tour, and they actually in the end, considering they were brown and green, they looked really cool, and everybody thought they looked really good. So yeah, we might have to bring that back for Simon, or change something up at least. He's had pink livery before that did him quite good. He had a gold livery as well, which made him feel like an absolute clown. Dominic Brennan's going to need a sort of desert camo one if he keeps that up. But we've got some fantastic looking cars on the grid either way, haven't we, Ed? I mean, John Barnes' McLaren have always been one of my favourites, because a lot of the boosted cars have a bright colour on the front. John's always got this sort of dazzle camo, but sort of black on black front end on the McLaren, and I thought it always looks really cool.
Yeah, and then you get the pop of colour when it comes around the bend, and you can see it in all its glory. John Barnes at this moment in time just getting acquainted with the circuit. But we do only have around about 1.5 minutes or so left for the drivers. Out on the circuit will be the Frenchman Ian Pfeiffer, starting from pole position for Satellite Racing Teal. Let's see obviously what he can do. His Satellite Racing teammate as well, Nils Kaur, I think is going to be coming up from sort of the tail end of the grid. I think starting from 8th place, Will Nils, with that 3rd place finish that he got in the first race. Could potentially be some team orders if the two of them get close together, because we do know Nils is chasing down the crown yet again, trying to defend his honour after winning Season 4 into Season 5. He is just about 16 points shy, I think it was in the standings from... I'm just having a double quick check. It was, 16 points back from Taylor Adams as we came into this race meeting. Did make up a little bit of ground, though, with Taylor Adams, I think, finishing 5th in the end, wasn't it? At the
yes,
first race.
No, he came 4th ahead of Ayrton Williams,
4th.
actually. Yeah.
It was 4th.
So he only made up 1 point in that race. But that's the thing, in the sprint races, the point system is a lot more compressed as well, so drivers can't make as many points up on the night. You literally just get 20 for a win. A win is no more important in terms of points, really. Only 1 point more important than second place, and everybody just has 1 point further down. It's the same for both races on the night as well, so there's not one race more important than the other, but obviously it gives people just inside the top 10 more of a chance to score points, with it being the top 10 reversed. So it's always an exciting night when we have these sprint race evenings. The cars will now disappear from the circuit. Great view there of the elevation changes, and it's almost an Interlagos-esque sort of repeat mid-section, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You can say no if you want.
Kinda.
It's with Interlagos. There's a pair of corners that are similar. Sort of, it goes back on itself twice, and it's almost like you repeat yourself going into tight braking zones. And I always feel like this place is kind of similar to that. So we'll see. We shall see. Right then, grid time for round 7 of the championship, and it's Ian Pfeiffer on pole position, Kyle Ridley alongside him. Matt Slight and Daniel Mills make up row 2, with Callum Brandt and Ayrton Williams on row 3. Following them, Taylor Adams and Niels Kaur, Simon Povey and Jake Cranstone round out the top 10. Guy Edwards next up with Dominic Brennan alongside him on row 6. Dan McCauley 13th, Lewis Ward 14th, and all Apex Racing Academy row 7. Jamie Pounder is next up with Ben Idris Abdullahi alongside. Ben Chalcraft and Toby Johns make up row 9. Stephen Codman and Dennis Van Beelen complete the top 20, ahead of Paul Goffin and Toby Ward. John Barnes and Lee Berridge make it an all-boosted row 12, with Matthias Tem and Rob Sharp on row 13. Heinz Mayer and Chris Jennings are on the 14th row, ahead of Stephen Burns and Martin Kenyon. Simon Price lines up alongside Kim Such, and John Roberts will not be taking the start. As mentioned, he withdrew from the meeting. So Ian Pfeiffer, pole position here, Ed. Newcomer to the championship this season, but he's certainly been getting amongst it, hasn't he, Ian? He's really been putting it out there.
He has, which is wonderful to see all of the drivers, I think, making their cases for a potential race victory. Ian certainly could be on the cards for one if he's able to withstand the assault from behind for the next 30 minutes. You can see he's really moving there, trying to get into the tyres. Got Kyle Ridley, though, alongside him when we know how impressive Kyle is. Oh, big check up there. Lewis Ward getting right into the back end of, was that Dan McCauley? No, Dominic Brennan. I think.
That's very strange. We don't often see that, but either way, round 7 of the championship is underway here at Ledenon. And as they head over the start-finish line, Ian Pfeiffer seems to be going quite slowly into turn 1. Very, very cautious there. The back end of the car sliding out. The two Regenta cars side by side. Matt Slight's had an absolute dream of a getaway. Side by side now with his teammate Taylor Adams. Heinz Mayer is dropping down the order. We are well underway here. As, battle for the leaders. Contact. Kyle Ridley just brushes the back of Ian Pfeiffer's Mercedes. Flipping heck, he's really straight out of the gates here. Jake Cranstone going well early on. He's gained 3 places, so too is Simon Povey. These two both experts in moving forward early on. Guy Edwards down the inside of Nils Kaur there. Big send. There's contact in front of the two Regenta cars. It's Taylor Adams again. Taylor Adams had a nightmare this time last season. Well, in the winter tour anyway, here at this circuit. Dominic Brennan is now facing the wrong direction. He's had a spin in the BMW as well. You didn't know housing estates could turn around that quickly, did you, everybody? But Simon Povey's made a dream start here. 5 places gained. Jake Cranstone still behind him. And it's Ian Pfeiffer leading Kyle Ridley and Daniel Mills. I'm really glad that Ian Pfeiffer didn't get a slowdown penalty for that contact we saw earlier.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened at the start, though. A massive checkup, and drivers just seemingly maybe looking at the relative, not looking up at the windshields, because they all kind of piled into the back of one another. Oh, big moment there. But Dan McCauley, he keeps it going, and is he going to make the position? He keeps banging doors with the 55 of Guy Edwards. They make their way over the crest of the hill, and Guy has the run, but doesn't quite have the track position. car on the inside, but actually lifting out of it. Dan McCauley, I think he decides to maybe think better of it, has to brake early. How on earth Dan didn't have that car pivot around on him, I have no idea.
Callum Brandt has jumped to the pit lane and is now back out on the circuit. So not quite sure what's happened. Maybe he had damage from the initial hit on the formation lap. That's a real shame. We never see that. We really never see that. I don't know what on earth happened there. Let's have a look here. Oh, it's the satellite car and then Jake Cranstone. So the two satellite Aston Martins on the outside went very slowly. Dominic Brennan got a hit from Lewis Ward, who got hit by Idris Abdullahi, and then I think... Wait, where was Callum Brandt in all of that? Because Callum, was he not? No, Callum didn't take the start of the race, so I do apologise. So there was a bit of an uneven grid. That's strange. How odd. It must have teleported Callum right to the bottom of the standings before we'd even seen it, because I didn't see him not line up. Apologies, Callum.
Must have been on that. Yeah, he was started and shown down as minus 26 places, so that is very surprising indeed. But Callum now back out on track.
That's very strange.
Very strange indeed. Jake Cranstone, Simon Povey at it yet again, but this time they've got company up ahead of Daniel Mills, Kyle Ridley and Ian Pfeiffer.
Yeah, and Daniel wants to
break away a little bit from Nils Court. If they keep battling, Nils is going to find himself in this fight. Look at now Daniel Mills trying to find his way around the big beefy Beamer. Look at that dive into the inside. Can he get the exit, or is the car
just Povey around
too loose as Povey's around? Was there contact between the pair of them? Ooh, Jake Cranstone's Simon's taken it into the pits right away.
Yeah.
Sees himself in a tricky position.
Yeah, he was around the front of the Porsche there. Oh, it just lifted him up. Just lifted him up, and he jumps out of the way as soon as possible, because there was cars 2x2 there. You can see Ben Idris Abdullahi was coming in, and that would have been a horrible, horrible moment, because Simon could have moved the car forward, but then it wouldn't have been predictable of where the car was going to be. Jake Cranstone has now lost a place to Nils Court. Now he's back down the inside of Nils Court, gets some sort of cutback on him, and displaces the reigning champion. Well, there's putting your mark on the series. Jake Cranstone absolutely on it. Dan McCauley's gained 6 places here. Jamie Pounder's gained 7. These guys having a great race. Stephen Burns gained 10. He had a horrible race 1 after 2 spins with contact with other cars, and now he's gaining multiple positions up into the top 20, into the points as well, which is important.
Very important. Ian Pfeiffer continuing to lead from Kyle Ridley. Kyle starting to feel the pressure now from Daniel Wills. Well, not starting, he's continuing to feel the pressure, but weathered the storm brilliantly. Yet again, the Porsche very close, but not close enough for any sort of moves to be made. But Jake Cranstone, he's getting a real turn of pace on now and trying to chase down that lead trio. As Dennis Van Beelen, battered a Bruce at the front there, decides to call it. There was a mistake here from Lee Berridge. Car sliding everywhere. A very slight tap. It's a really dented front end, and Dennis Van Beelen, I think, realises he can't take it to the pit safely and has to tow.
That's a real shame. A few drivers falling early doors in this race. Don't forget, it's a half-hour race instead of the 20 minutes that we saw earlier. Lewis Ward with a bit of front-end damage on his Mercedes as well, trying to get past Jamie Pounder. Looks like the car's already been pounded at the front, to be fair. It's had a real old whack on that first lap, or at least the formation lap anyway. Jamie going well at the moment in the Aston Martin. They've been really solid addition to the grid of the Prestanda Nomad cars. They've made good use of the sprint racing as well. 561 and 961 of Jamie Pounder and Tom Stanley. Tom, unfortunately, not here tonight. Jake Cranstone does the fastest lap of the race from 4th position. He's got reigning champion Nils Court behind him. But will we get a new race winner in the championship? Ian Pfeiffer, Kyle Ridley. I don't think Kyle's won a race before. Daniel Mills also up there. Oh, running wide there, Lewis Ward. The car clearly not behaving itself as he wants it to. Championship leader Taylor Adams is 6 places down from where he started. His teammate Matt Slight is 11 down. Let's not forget, they had contact on the first lap, actually. We didn't go back and look at that, so apologies, boys, but we're going to. This is how it came about. Oh, he's bounced off Kyle Ridley in front, and then Simon hits both BMWs, not expecting the check-up. Again, it's this update in physics here on iRacing. Oh, that camera angle does work then.
These two having a real ding-dong, and I think Taylor's trying to get ahead of Vender, just have delay. He doesn't quite get the move to stick. Those two are going side by side for quite a while, it seemed. But Ben able to hang on now. Just to 12th place. Looking up and down at the field, just at the time battles we've got. Jake Cranston is firmly in with the fight for 3rd place. He can really start to pile the pressure on Daniel Mills. Could be trying to make it back-to-back victories, which I don't think we actually saw too much of, did we, when the sprints were first introduced?
No, I don't think anybody's ever won both sprint races on the same night. We've only had a couple of them before. But if I look back through the Winter Tour standings, I will try and find out for you. But great stuff here as down the inside goes Jake Cranstone. Big send on Daniel Mills. Porsche on Porsche. Daniel uses the momentum on the exit of the corner to carry speed around the outside. He's then going to have the inside line for this next double left. Matt Hoyland has possibly put Jake tries to cut back. It doesn't work, and now Nils Kaur has to get out of it as well. That was very scary. Rob Sharp's had a nightmare evening, considering he qualified in 3rd place. He's got big damage on the car already. Great shot of Callum Brandt in the background there. Yeah, the car won't work for Rob, unfortunately. And he's going to park it. That's a humongous shame, that is, for Rob. Just looking at the Winter Tour standings. Actually, you might have to come back to me on this one, Ed.
That's okay, no
worries.
worries.
Come back to me in a minute, sorry.
Come back to you in a minute. We've got some great action to tide us over. In the meantime, we've got Nils Kaur just following him on board. He's in the best seats in the house for this fight with Jake Cranstone. Daniel Mills up the road as well. Nils with a great exit, a very compromised exit actually for Daniel Mills. Daniel losing out there to Jake, who's now got his nose in front. Nils Kaur is going to try and follow Jake through now. Actually, there's no real way through. He's going to let these two go side by side and then pick his moment to go for it up the inside. He's still got the overlap now, trying to muscle his way past Porsche, but he's carrying plenty of speed, is Dan. Should have the inside line for the heavy braking zone now. Looks to be able to hang on and actually could try and allow space for his teammate to go through. Guy Edwards in the McLaren. Oh, a little bit of contact on the exit. Threatened to take the McLaren for a spin. Seemingly got it all sorted in a little attempt at a cutback from Guy, but just didn't come to fruition. Jake Cranstone, though, plenty of breathing space in behind now. Doesn't need to worry too much about Daniel Mills. Focus on Kyle Ridley and Ian Pfeiffer. Ian doing a great job, to be fair to him. Still leading after the first 10 minutes of racing here at Ledenon in the second of 2 sprint races. But it is looking all the more likely that Jake is going to make it. Back-to-back victories. His pace is supreme around here, and it's going to be tricky, I think, now for Kyle Ridley or Ian Pfeiffer to keep him at bay. But we know that Kyle is very good at defensive drive. We've seen it in the past. Not seen too much of Ian Pfeiffer, to be fair to him, a newcomer, but of course could bring out great defence because he is able to keep Kyle Ridley at bay.
Definitely.
Looks quite comfortable, doesn't he, at the moment, Ian?
Yeah, he looked a little bit hesitant into the first corner on the very first lap, but since then, he's looked really tidy. Some of the guys in the Mercedes were saying it was a little bit difficult to hold on to around a circuit like this where weight transfer is so important. It's quite a sludgy car, all the inputs are a bit smooth and it's a bit floaty, but yeah, it's seemingly holding its weight quite well at the front end of the order at the moment. Jake Cranstone is indeed in front of Daniel Mills and hoping to carry on pushing forward. Kyle Ridley has made use of sprint races before, as we've rightly said. Jake currently in that podium position. Matthias Thames having a brilliant race. He may not have no front end on the car and a dent in the rear end, but he's gained 11 places. Quite the opposite to the car that he's chasing right now. Matt Slight, who has lost 10 from where he started on the grid, right near the front after that contact on the first lap. Toby Ward just inside the points at the moment, trying to get past Stephen Burns. He too having a good race. He's gained 10 spots. And then Paul Goffin just in front has gained 3. Jake Cranstone has got past Kyle Ridley, albeit temporarily. He's now going to have the inside line for the next corner. So Jake is really on a mission here. And like I said before, really stamping his authority. Daniel Mills will want to follow him. He's been looking at the back of this Beamer for ages now, and he's got to do it even more, knowing another car's just gone past it.
Yeah, but he knows now that it can be done. which could spur him on to just find those little gaps that the Porsche can seemingly worm its way into. And he was fastest of that bunch over the course of the last lap. And Williams has got a fellow Aston Martin to try and get the better of. It's Jamie Pounder, one of the lone Prestanda Nomad cars here tonight.
Look at that.
That's in force.
That's the top 10. That's all the top 10, them lot. Top 10 is now currently separated by just over 5 seconds. There's some great battling going on there. Taylor Adams, Ben Chalcraft, Matt Slight, 3 BMWs all having a ding-dong. Matthias Tem joining in on this as well, or what's left of the Mercedes. Look at that round the outside by Matthias. Great confidence there, but a little bit wide on the exit. Not sure if you get a slowdown penalty for that. I think as long as you're not at full pace, you should be okay. So hopefully he's got away with that one. And Williams has finally gone past Jamie Pounder, all again temporarily, as he's now alongside up the hill. Jamie on the inside line for this double left. Hard on the brakes they go. Lewis Ward wanted a piece of this. Oh, Daniel Mills is around. Daniel Mills has spun in the Porsche. Has he hit the back of a car in front? Because that looks like a very small radius spin. Oh, he's just bounced off the inside of the Beamer. To be fair,
he's already late into the corner.
Yeah, I was going to say Kyle gave him a lot of room, and unfortunately he was just that little bit too late, and it's over-rotated on the spin. On the contact, I should say.
So,
oh, Tem's around.
Matthias has had a moment as well.
Dear, oh
Looks
dear.
like on the exit of the corner.
Oh,
he gets a helping hand there. To Abdullahi.
Yeah, it is. I think there's so many moments on this circuit where the cars are glued to each other on the exit. It's hard to know if you're making contact. We saw it with Jake Cranstone earlier, where it doesn't sort of necessarily biff the car in front. It just, on the apex, sort of hooks itself to the car ahead, doesn't it? And then rotates. It's horrible to see.
You don't get the feeling through the wheel as well.
Yeah.
To know if you've made contact, which I think was the catalyst for both of those two incidents. The one you mentioned earlier between Jake Cranston and Simon Povey, and the one we just saw between Matthias and Ben. It was just a case of not really getting the feedback that the contact's been made, but the car that's getting hit certainly knows about it when it spins around. Very unfortunate stuff there. It's actually Idris Abdullahi. Has he dropped back to let Matthias through?
I think he has, you know. I think he has.
Or has he just had a moment of his own?
Let's find out. Toby Ward overtook him. This is Toby going past him. He's somewhere. I've not seen him yet. I think he's just going to appear.
I think we just saw it. I think he did. He was there. I think he was on the right-hand side. Very slow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was waiting for him. That's really lovely sportsmanship, that is.
Very nice.
Because it was longer than serving a slowdown penalty, that's for sure. That's really, really good.
That's the sort of stuff we love to see, and that's what makes Sim Racing Magazine one of the best sort of leagues and sort of, what do you call it, community that we're a part of, is the fact that things like that happen. I remember, was it Callum Brandt did it on the final round of the season. He was fighting for a championship with Lewis Ward, and I think had contact, was it with Dan McCauley, and well, obviously Apex Race Academy, and it was Marty Simsport fighting for not just the Drivers' Championship but also Teams Championship. It was very, very touching to see that essentially Callum gave up any chance of winning the title just to essentially ensure that there was no untoward, undue influences that would have affected the Teams Championship. Yeah,
it was lovely to see that. Really, really was. Glass Tech Racing in the chat saying evening all. Matt Hoyland said earlier, all these laps completed and I still don't know where the circuit goes. I'm the same. I am the same. We pick them up at certain points of the track and I don't know where they're going next. I'm not sure if they're going to leave shot through the left or through the right, but it's an absolute roller coaster of a circuit. Seemingly quite a small track as well, Ed. There's not really a lot in terms of grandstands, or I can't necessarily comment on viewing points because I'm sure that a lot of these barriers and things you can get to around the track, but it seems like a similar to Nogaro in France, where it's a bit out in the sticks, and the only place really to watch from is the start-finish straight, because you can see so much of the track from there. You may as well stick on there on a hill.
Yeah, find any sort of hill and you can see it all with all of the elevation changes going up and down and up and down. Don't really want to be in the middle of the circuit because this is right at the lowest point. You wouldn't really know what's going on around you. But Ian Pfeiffer knows one thing for certain, and that is that Jake Ranston is going to want to get through him sooner rather than later. doing a great job at the moment. He's got 13.5 minutes to go. If he can weather the storm, he will be able to take his first victory of the season. But Jake is really pushing hard, getting the exits absolutely nailed to give himself the best opportunities for moves. Looking to the outside now, is going to try and feint to the inside, but that's come off brilliantly by Ian. A little bit shaky, and they both run slightly wide, getting the late apex. Now, we know that Jake likes to back off a little bit in towards the final corner to give himself the best possible run out without being hampered. Is he going to do it this time? You can see a little bit of a gap, and then the car really punches out on the way up the hill.
Yeah, he's done an absolutely wonderful... No, he actually doesn't have the overlap. I thought he did there. He's going to try and get the run down the inside. Pfeiffer comes over to the left, then goes back to the middle. You don't want to move too many times. Trying to go around the outside. I went on board with Nils Core then just to signify the fact that, let's not forget that Nils is Ian's stablemate. They both race for Satellite Racing. Ian is doing Nils a favour here by defending so hard from Jake that really he's going to get stuck in a battle with reigning champion Nils Core side by side into the hairpin. They're glued to each other. This is going to be a great view from Nils, and if Jake can make this work, I wouldn't be too much of a fan of that move being pulled off, as Ian really squeezes him to the inside. He's forcing him to very much back out of this. He's a little bit close to the line. Jake's actually gone through down the inside. Is Nils Core going to go with him though? Back down the hill, nearly contact again. Jake's got to hang it round the outside. Ian's going to run a little bit wide. This is so close. Oh, big door bang into the hairpin. I think Ian got into the ABS there. The car seemed to go straight. Jake bounces off. Nils Core up to second position. And part of me sort of expects Ian to just roll over here and let the reigning champion through, but we'll have to see. He's got to do it in a way that doesn't lose him time, because look behind him, top of the pops is on the scorecard. Kyle Ridley there, Guy Edwards in this as well. This is exciting stuff yet again.
Yeah, there's very few areas on the circuit where you can let one car through without letting another right up there with you. That was, very interesting, wasn't it, between Jake Cranston and Ian Pfeiffer.
It was robust.
I was going to be right with you with, I think for a moment Jake really did use a lot of the circuit on the way out, and I think we are seeing maybe, oh no, we're not. They're still, they are fighting for it. They can fight.
They can indeed. He's got to be careful though. Oh, Nils has nearly hit the back of Ian, who's nearly been hit by Jake Cranston. This is three cars absolutely glued to each other now for the race lead. Two of them stablemates, but technically not teammates in this championship. Ian Pfeiffer in the Mercedes racing for Satellite Racing Teal. Satellite Racing Blue is Nils Core, reigning champion, and my god, these cars look fantastic from this angle. The livery really comes alive from up here. Funnily enough, almost a satellite view.
Nils with the moment.
Yep, Nils having a bit of a wobble, and Kyle Ridley's going to be front row seat for this if Jake Cranston goes through. Christopher Smith saying bum cheeks well and truly puckered for Jake there. Definitely, mate. Great to see you, Chris, by the way. Hope to see you back in the championship at some point soon. I was talking to Rob Sutherland the other day. He was saying that Holman and Smith both want to come back at some point. It'd be great to see. Let's look at this now. Cranston, he is just trying to sort of put the nose down the inside, isn't he, and fill the mirrors, but he's not quite able to do it just yet. Guy Edwards will be one to watch here as well, Ed.
Ooh, so many things to watch. It's going to be tricky just to keep a track of it all, but Guy Edwards now, look at the exit he gets out of that corner. Much, much better than Kyle Ridley, but because of the slipstream train that's essentially being formed, I'm not sure if Guy's going to be able to get any sort of overlap. You can see all the cars on the right-hand side of your circuit. Guy looking for it around the outside. If you can hang it there, might try and switchback manoeuvre. Jake Cranston, though, looking up the inside, and that's more than just a look. That is a real big glare, isn't it, down the inside of Nils Core? But Nils holding firm for now.
Brilliant stuff so far.
Ian's doing a great job as well. Ian's really doing a great job. The two Satellite Racing cars trying to work together while also working against each other. They have one common enemy at this point, and that is Jake Cranston.
Definitely is.
Ooh, this is going to be close. Ian could be on for his first victory. This could be very impressive.
9 minutes to go still. Plenty will happen in that time. Serves up some great racing this track, says Mike Murphy. Absolutely. It's a very Marmite circuit with the drivers, or whatever the French alternative is. Probably just butter. But the best bit about this right now, in my eyes, is that we have these 5 cars going together against each other. We have a Mercedes leading an Aston Martin, leading a Porsche and a BMW and a McLaren. One of each of the 5 manufacturers in this championship in the top 5 in this race. And there is the rest of the field to look at as well. Ayrton Williams, Lewis Ward, Taylor Adams, Dan McCauley, Jamie Pounder all still within the top 10. John Barnes is having a great race. He's gained 10 places. Toby Ward, sorry, not Toby Ward, apologies Toby. Toby's gained 5, he's doing well. But Stephen Burns has gained 13 places. Martin Kenyon has gained 10 in the Jelly Babies car. And he's on for his first points if these guys behind don't cause too much of a nuisance for him. Bit of a flash of the lights there from Tem. Not quite sure why. Idris Abdullahi wants a piece of this though, so maybe it's just a bit of a hurry up to get him out of the way, because we've seen that these two had a good old scrap at the Nürburgring and it's been reignited here.
Yeah, here we go. Round 2. Great sportsmanship, wasn't it, though, from Ben Idris Abdullahi earlier. Yeah. Letting one of his main rivals through as Niels Kor following him now with Jake Cranston once more right up his chuff. Oh, Niels having to defend the inside slightly, but it's an area of the circuit where you can't exactly find a way past.
He's still covering it off though, isn't he? This is the thing, he's showing his intentions very clearly here to defend from Jake Cranstone. This is remarkable, remarkable racing yet again. And you know what, Jake may have made a little mistake with Simon before and caused a bit of contact, but the following and the close nature of this racing they've been doing is just awesome. 5 cars so close together like this, we love it.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Jake now. He's in a good little window to really just charge through on this final corner. Gives himself a little bit more space to then power out. Gets a good run, but actually not great, because obviously you can see that Niels Kor is going to be getting the slipstream from Ian Pfeiffer. So the 3 of them will compress up together in towards turn 1. And there's no real headway being made by Jake whatsoever. Great little aerial shot there just to see the different lines being taken. Jake Cranston opting for a tighter line, but then obviously doesn't quite get the same sort of drive through the final part of that turn 1 complex. And this was Matthias Tem. Ooh.
Big old hit there with Martin Kenyon. Not quite sure on how on earth that came about.
Tries to turn into the corner. Martin Kenyon.
He was a bit straight into the...
Yeah, Martin Kenyon didn't seem to turn in until it was a little bit late.
Strange.
Very weird move.
Very, very strange. Now we go. Whoa! Niels Kor was nearly around then. I held my breath for a second because as it disappeared over the crest of the hill, that looked like that Aston Martin was having a big old spin. So I don't know how he's kept that together, but Jake Cranstone is putting so much pressure on him. It's great to see. Really good addition to the series is Jake. As Niels
Kor wiggling around a lot, just trying to keep the car steady.
They stuck to each other. They stuck to each other on the way in, and now Kyle Ridley's got an opportunity. Oh, it's mighty close. We saw a lot of that at the Nürburgring, didn't we? The glue, as they call it, the 2 cars sticking together, the car on the outside turning into the rear quarter of the car on the inside, meaning that neither of them can turn into the corner. Back over the hill.
Ooh, it's so hard, isn't it, just to call this either way, but for now, Ian Pfeiffer and Niels Kor, they have a bit more space to work with. 5.5 minutes to go. If Ian's able to defend, this is going to be one of the best defensive drives I've seen all season long, and maybe even in all of my time commentating on the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. This is going to be so impressive for the driver at his home race. Guy Edwards, he's having a little look, isn't he, up the inside of Kyle Ridley. Kyle's putting his car in the perfect spots to try and keep him at bay, while also trying not to lose touch with the tree up ahead. But Guy Edwards, look at the late lunge up the inside the McLaren. Oh, just struggling to put the power down. A little wiggle on the way out. BMW has got the outside line, but that will then become the inside for the very next bend. Guy Edwards, can he brave it all the way around the outside? They still remain line astern with one another, but I think he's going to get it on the way out of the corner. Brilliant stuff by Guy. He set up that move so many corners in advance. That's what you have to do here at Ledenon. Now though, Ian Pfeiffer, Niels Kor and Jake Cranstone, they're trying to break away as Ben Idris Abdullahi looking up the inside of Martin Kenyon. I think he's going to get that move made up into 20th place, getting points now. Yeah,
final championship point being battled over there. You've also got Chris Jennings and the Callum Brandt McLaren was in there, but Callum's a few laps down actually. Just 1 lap down actually, based on the fact that he didn't take the start, which was odd. I'm not sure whether he took the start and he was there and he was involved in that contact at the hairpin and he pulled over into the pits. Not quite sure. We'd have to look back, but for now, all we know is that he's a lap down, unfortunately, and it's a big old shame because Callum is one of the most exciting drivers in the series and always a good laugh to have up there. But look at these three here, separated by 0.4 of a second for the race lead. Nils Core has Jake Cranstone down his inside. It's a big send by Jake. Nils has got to try and carry the momentum on the exit, and he has done so. Moves Jake over to the right. He says, nope, sunshine in that little Porsche. You are not coming through here. Nils has got to be so careful, though, because he's trying to go as late on the brakes as possible to defend from Jake. But he could also careen into his teammate, Ian Pfeiffer, who, on paper, isn't as quick as Nils, but Ian is quick enough on his day. And he's been one of my drivers of the race so far, Ed, because he's had everything thrown at him, but he's still somehow held on to the race lead.
Yeah, just 3 and a bit minutes to go. I think when he comes over the line, he should have 2 more laps to go, if maths is right. Ooh, look at this, though. Jake Cranstone going for that second place spot, and he might be able to get the move seal there as Nils Core battles with him all the way down the hill. Now, Jake Cranstone with the inside line should be able to make the move, and he does. But he's been in this position once before, hasn't he? He's been trying to get the better of Ian Pfeiffer, lost out, and Nils Core found his way past. Will this happen again, or can Jake, in these closing 2.5 minutes, make the move to win back-to-back races here tonight?
And be the first driver ever to do so on a sprint night as well, if I recall. But let's see. Let's wait and see. We're on board now with Guy Edwards. He's moved himself up into 4th position. Nils Core just in front of him. Jake Cranstone, then Ian Pfeiffer. The 3 cars ahead. Ian's going to be doing a little bit more of what we saw him do before, I think, as whoa, Idris Abdullahi going on a bit of a Paris-Dakar there. Stephen Burns side by side with Dominic Brennan. Ooh, the 2 tower blocks crash into each other there. Then you've got Daniel Mills behind trying to recover. I was going to say Ian Pfeiffer. Oh, he was going to try and help out Nils Core here by slowing down Jake Cranstone, but no. It's actually Guy Edwards attacking Nils now. Guy in the McLaren trying everything he can to get that 3rd spot. Still side by side. Oh, no, there's contact on the exit. Oh, Guy didn't seem to just accommodate for the Aston. He ran a little bit wide, though, did Nils Core. And he's off in the barrier. Oh, it's such a shame. That means Kyle Ridley now goes up into 3rd place. Ayrton Williams in the other satellite car next up. Lewis Ward, 9 places gained for him. Wow, he's having a hell of a run. Up into 5th place. He's ahead of Taylor Adams. Not seen much from Taylor this race. He's only gained 1 spot. Guy Edwards recovers.
We get 1 more lap after this one. We'll have a look at the contact, and there's no contact actually on the exit. The 2 cars get stuck together. Nils Core. We do see Nils involved in a lot of netcode, and I think that could just be a case of his connection not being as strong as it used to be. It has been noted by Nils actually as well that his speeds have slowed. Not sure what's been going on, but it does seem Nils is really bearing the brunt of a lot of the unfortunate netcode so far this season. Ian Pfeiffer, though, moving on to the other satellite racing TL car. He's got to just try as he can to hang on for just 1 more lap. A few more corners to go, half a lap essentially remaining. Jake Cranstone, though, he is hungry. You can just see from the attitude of the car where he's been placing it every single corner that goes by. A little bit more desperation maybe creeping in for Jake to try and make it back-to-back victories.
Little ankle biter this Porsche, really is, but Ian Pfeiffer is having absolutely none of it. It'd be great to see a Frenchman take a win at his home race as well here at Ledenon. It's the only French round on the calendar, if I remember rightly as well, so would be awesome to see it won by a Frenchman. He's going to make his way back down the hill. I think he's got it. Unless Jake really sends it here, but I don't think he will. I think he knows that he's just got to try and get the run out the final corner. Let's see if he can do it. Round 7 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is won by the hometown hero. Ian Pfeiffer, the Frenchman, wins in France. Brilliant stuff in the Mercedes. Well done to Ian Pfeiffer. His first win in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Jake Cranstone completes a brilliant night with 2nd place. Kyle Ridley is 3rd ahead of Ayrton Williams, Lewis Ward, Taylor Adams, Guy Edwards, Dan McCauley, Jamie Pounder and Matt Slight. Ben Chalcraft just outside of the top 10. John Barnes gains 11 places. What a night. Nils Core 14th in the end. That's a real shame. Stephen Burns biggest mover in that race. But Ian Pfeiffer wins on home soil. That's a really feel-good story.
That's very impressive stuff, and I think it has to be one of our drivers of the round, just from that amazing defensive drive that he put on that second race. Brilliant stuff by Ian. Just catch your breath, everyone, because that was There was a long time that he had to defend, basically from the word go. He had Kyle Ridley breathing down his neck. Then he also had Jake Cranstone up there with him. Niels Core for a moment as well. There was no sign of team orders whatsoever.
You know what?
Ooh,
the only
brilliant
car
stuff.
to finish where it started on the grid was that one there. Fantastic.
Ooh.
Absolutely brilliant by Ian Pfeiffer. Really, really love that. And we'll, of course, try and get some reaction in a few moments' time. But first off, we'll give you the results of round 7 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Ian Pfeiffer wins. Jake Cranstone, fantastic night for him. With Kyle Ridley getting a podium, we've said that he really benefits from these sprint races. Well done again to Kyle. Ayrton Williams, his countryman as well, 2 Australians in the top 4. Lewis Ward finishes 5th, a good recovery from him. Taylor Adams in 6th. It's not his circuit, this, is it? Guy Edwards 7th after that contact. Dan McCauley recovers to 8th. Jamie Pounder in 9th, another top 10 for Prestanda Nomad. And Matt Slight completes the top 10. Ben Shalcraft was next up, with John Barnes behind him, Stephen Codman in 13th, Toby Ward 14th, and Dominic Brennan eventually in 15th place. Very close together, though, with that entire pack in the middle. Stephen Burns was next up ahead of Daniel Mills, with Paul Goffin in 18th. Ben Idris Abdullahi was 19th, with Martin Kenyon in 20th position, the final point scorer. He was only 3 tenths ahead of Chris Jennings as well, who just misses out on points. Heinz Mayer next up. Nils Core actually coming home 23rd on the results, so maybe a slowdown penalty or something to still serve there, which is what dropped him down. That's a huge shame. Simon Price 24th, Kim Such 25th, Callum Brandt a lap down, same with Dennis Van Beelen. Matthias Tem out of the race after contact. Rob Sharp, Simon Povey, Lee Berridge and Toby Johns all out of the race. John Roberts didn't take the start. Well, that was unbelievable. That was, again, massive excitement all night there, Ed, and it's what we expect from these sim nights, the sprint nights, I should say. It doesn't always go straightforward for everybody, but wow, it's very exciting, this format.
It was so exciting, wasn't it? From the word go, you could never really know who was going to come out on top, but yet again, a new winner, Ian Pfeiffer. How many does that make it this season, Chaz? 7 different winners or something silly?
6 different winners from 7 races. And adding to the list of ever-growing podium finishers as well is this man, Kyle Ridley. Kyle, welcome to the box, mate. You must be buzzing with that, mate. We always say that you do well in the sprint rounds, and, well, you proved it again.
Yeah, well, just that little bit of chaos with mixed field and whatnot. If I can get the track position, I'll do my best to hold it and all that fun stuff. So it was... yeah, a good race. It's a bit unfortunate that a few people kind of bumped off me or in the race like that, but nonetheless, it's a podium, so I add to that growing list of podium winners, or podium scorers, and yeah, it's just a fun little race. I loved it.
I was going to say, it's a Marmite circuit, as we said on the broadcast. You know, it's one that people either love or hate, but it does seem to be one of those that's good for racing, though, doesn't it, in these cars?
It can be. It's a lot of just long radius corners, which can be hard to overtake on. I mean, this for Marmite, I really dislike this track. I did it last season. It was the first time I ever drove it. I felt lost as hell, but I had a Jetta race here, which was a bit more comforting, and then here, being able to follow people especially was good, and just able to pump out decent laps, which was nice, like my best quality of the season and all that. So pace is building, and it was nice not to actually save field this round.
I was going to say, there's been a lot of discussion on that. We'll gloss over that very quickly, but still, a decent run through the series so far for you. Consistent points. You must be quite happy with how it's going.
Yeah, well, I came into the season hoping to be top 15, top 10s, and I missed 2 rounds because I was on holiday, but every round I've competed in has been a top 10, so goals have been achieved, and want to keep it forward and keep it going.
Absolutely, mate, and it's going to be a challenge next week at Spa-Francorchamps in the wet for an endurance race. How are you feeling about that?
I don't mind the wet. I'm kind of sad I missed out on Watkins Glen because those conditions are my favourite. But the wet, if it's proper wet, then it'd be interesting.
Belgian weather.
Well, Belgian weather, so it's going to be wet.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing it. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, it's certainly going to be an interesting one. I'll do some practice and see how we go.
Definitely, mate. Well, it's been great to see you do well again tonight. Well done on your podium. And is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
As always, I want to thank Sim Racing Magazine and all their associated sponsors for putting this together. It's always, one of the best leagues I've ever been in terms of just everything evolved to it. I want to thank yourself and Ed for the commentary, and Stephen Burns for the, once again, new livery. Get a new one each week.
They're absolutely fantastic, mate. Send on our best, what do they say, compliments to the chef. So hopefully we'll see you again at Spa-Francorchamps. Kyle, thanks very much for joining us, mate, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, guys.
Lovely stuff. Kyle Ridley, always a good laugh there, Ed. And, of course, doing well in the championship. And, he proved us right. He does well in the sprint races.
Yeah, he does, even if he described it as one of those more Marmite circuits, which he hated. Or was it more Vegemite, I suppose?
It's Vegemite for him, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be more Vegemite for him.
Definitely is. We're going to move on to the man that finished second in that race, but of course won the earlier race on the night. Jake, a very busy night for you, but still 5 podiums in a row now. Really the man in form. You must feel good about that.
I do feel good, but it's a bittersweet podium here. I'm really sorry to Simon. It was not intentional at all. I just a lapse of judgment. So I just want to put that out there. Really sorry. Really sorry.
Well, I'm sure Simon will appreciate it. We do too. We saw a few incidents like that on the night. It's the nature of those corners sometimes, isn't it? Because as Ed rightly pointed out, as a driver, you won't get the feel in the wheel at such low speed that there's any contact happening, will you? It just sort of hooks, and then when you get on the throttle, it's already too late, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I didn't have any feeling at all, or even a 0x that we get on the screens. And then suddenly Simon was sort of locked into my bonnet and facing the other way, and I thought we were both accelerating out of the corner. So obviously, as soon as I noticed there was something wrong, I backed straight out of it. But it was too late, unfortunately, and I feel terrible.
Well, still, on the positive note, a great night for you in terms of results, though. I know that, obviously, like you say, still bittersweet, but your progress through the championship now after getting that first podium and getting them ever since must feel pretty good, though.
Yes, yeah. I was gunning really hard for the double, but Ian was
we could tell
was too good at the defending. It didn't help that I had 14x for half of the race as well, so I couldn't really do much.
Well, you still did a fantastic job of entertaining us, I can tell you that, and I'm sure Ian will be sweating his bag off. We're going to speak to him in just a moment. But still, the championship moves on to Spa-Francorchamps next time. Another endurance race again in the wet. Are you excited for that? Because you did pretty well in the wet last time.
Oh, well, I'm glad you said it's wet, because I was worrying a bit with the Porsche and the high speeds of Spa. Doesn't really suit it. But the wet might level it out a bit more, give me some advantage on some of the corners. So yeah, Spa's always a good one. Good fun race, and especially in the wet, it's going to be interesting.
Well, we look forward to it, Jake. And is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go?
I'd just like to shout out Ali, Dave. I was down at Castle Combe testing with Dave's race car today, so
nice.
Had to rush back for this, so it was good fun. Thank you to Dave for letting me have a drive. Thanks to Ellie and my parents as well watching along, and I'd just like to dedicate my first win to my cat, who sadly passed away 16 years yesterday, so emotional time at the moment.
Bless you, Jake. Bless you indeed. Well, thank you very much for joining us, mate, and we look forward to seeing you at Spa. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Cheers, mate. Jake Cranston there. As you can tell, very bittersweet indeed, Ed, and this is the thing again, it's about the sort of emotional investment from the drivers in this league and in this community. It's very friendly, and at the same time, it's always lovely to get a good result, but difficult in those circumstances.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, credit to him that the first thing he said was just apologies to Simon for the contact. It just shows, of course, what a driver, what a guy as well Jake is. Doesn't want it to be any sort of bitter taste left in the mouth after what has been a brilliant evening for him, but another brilliant evening for this man, Chaz.
Indeed. Ian Pfeiffer, race winner in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. As we just pointed out, you were the only car to finish that race where you started on the grid. You must feel over the moon, mate. A home win as well.
Yeah, it's just amazing to win a home race on Ledenon. Keep my first place on the race. That's been maybe the most tricky race I have made since quite a long time, because
I was going to say, you had to defend for the whole thing, didn't you?
Yeah, but nearly at the middle of the race, Knives helped me quite a lot to defend because, as a teammate, he helped me to keep Jake a bit behind, and so it was helpful to relax a bit before, just overtake him for the last two laps. So I was gonna to go back on the walk. So, but at the end it worked, so I'm pretty happy.
Absolutely, and I can't remember the last time we had a sort of a home victory in the championship, but obviously to make it your first one as well, it just shows us as well, because Ed and I always say that, you know, there's anybody in the top 15, 20 drivers could win a race here. It's incredibly competitive, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, especially here, the Ledenon is a very tricky track where it's really difficult to overtake if the guy in front of you just defends. So, yeah, I know that all I had to do to win it was just defending, and like you said, the front of the field is really tight, so that made the battle even more harder, because you have to avoid doing any mistake, because if you do a mistake, that would take a chance to overtake you. So that makes it even better to win with this strong field. So.
Well, it's been a fantastic night and great to watch you, Ian, and obviously we've enjoyed having you in the championship already. We go to Spa next time out, and it's back to the endurance format. Are you enjoying the endurance races so far this season?
It has been really tough for me because on the first two endurance races, because I'm not quite good for saving fuel, so I was
a bit
already
heavy-footed.
Yeah. And it's my first interest being on the race since 3 or 4 months. So I still learn quite a lot of things to learn. So especially just saving fuel, like everybody did on endurance race. So but with the rain, I might have my chance to finish high. So because I kind of like this tricky condition when you start on the dry and finish in the wet condition. So.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you get on, Ian. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to while we've got you on the broadcast?
I would thank iRacing for sure, and especially my teammates in the championship, and it's especially nice as well because it just made amazing rewards for me for most of the race. So it's a shame that he had an incident 2 laps to go. So but thanks to them, victories for them, so I'm quite glad for them. So
good stuff, Ian. Well, great to speak to you, mate. Fantastic to have our first interview with you at long last, and we hope it continues to go well. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Ian Pfeiffer, very excited by his first victory, Ed, and like we say, a home victory as well. You know, sure, you're still sat in the sim, you're not technically there, but it does still mean something to you, doesn't it, though, as a driver?
Yeah, it does. And obviously every driver has their own sort of favourite circuits to go to, and if you do have a circuit that's sort of your home race on the calendar, usually if you're in these other leagues, it's mainly for British drivers, at least something like Silverstone. If many series go to it, you always see those drivers take it up a little notch and try and impress on what would be their home rounds. And like you say, while it is still virtual, it does mean a lot for the drivers to get these victories, and I hope that Ian is going to enjoy this one for a while to come, and he'll get a little memento as well, won't he, thanks to our sponsors.
Yes, absolutely, and another perfect opportunity, thank you, Ed, to speak to or mention the sponsors of the championship: Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, God, I'll say it right one day, boys, Derbyshire Holiday Homes, and of course Bespoke Shelters. But that is unfortunately all we have time for here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media and the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Another absolutely belting night of sim racing here at the virtual circuit de Ledenon. As you've heard, we go to Spa-Francorchamps in a week's time, everybody. It's going to be an absolute corker there in the wet, an endurance race once more, and the final one of the season with the 40% fuel limit as well, so keep your eye on that. But thank you once again, Ed. Thank you once again to all the drivers, sponsors, everyone involved, and thank you everybody for watching. We will see you in a week's time at Spa-Francorchamps. Enjoy.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and it's ready to show off.
Ben Gregory now.
I love it. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanton tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.